Can you think of 5 good things that happened because of the pandemic? Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. Today I'd like to discuss some of the positive things that happened as an indirect response to the global pandemic. The global pandemic of coronavirus was a terrible problem worldwide. In the United States, more than 1 million people died as a direct result of the pandemic. An estimated 22 million people lost their jobs because of the pandemic. Thousands of businesses went out of business because of the economic stress created by the pandemic. So I think we all agree that the pandemic was terrible. It was negative. It was also more than 3 years long. And because it caused changes in society, changes in human behavior, there were some good things that happened as indirect responses to the pandemic. I have come up with a list of 5 things for me that were very positive. Your list may be very different because people are different and their circumstances are different. But the global pandemic stressed societies, stressed humans, we adapted, and then things happened. My list is in no particular order. Number 1, haircuts. During the pandemic, we couldn't get a haircut. The hair salons were closed. We weren't supposed to go near other people. We're wearing masks. It was a big change in our day-to-day schedule, and our hair was still growing. So in order to not develop a problem with grooming, I went online and ordered a battery-powered clipper set that had the numbers that were the same numbers that they used in the salon. The staff of the salon had taught me what numbers to use, so I ordered the clippers. They came in, I charged them up and used them. Number 4 on the top, number 2 on the sides, number 3 to smooth it all together. And so I have cut my own hair for the past 4 years. The result is, well, you can be the judge. You might look at this video and say, man, you need to go to a salon and get a better haircut. Now, you can have that opinion if you want. To my eye, it has not been a negative. But after paying for the clippers, I have still saved between $400 and $500 because I don't go to the salons. That was number 1. Number 2, reading. Because of the disruption, we couldn't do the things we would usually do. So whether we liked it or not, we had some time on our hands. So I chose reading. Online, I discovered a fellow on a YouTube channel named Benjamin McAvoy. Ben curates literature. It is specifically from the Western canon, that is European and American authors, and he offers frequent videos on different works of literature with specific recommendations on translations, versions, and a lot of commentary about how to read these great works. So during the pandemic, getting input from Ben McAvoy, I read more than 35 books. They included War and Peace, Anna Karenina, The Brothers Karamazov, Moby Dick, Persuasion, Middlemarch, Dracula, and so many more. It was an amazing experience. These were books that I had thought about reading in the past, had thought maybe I should read, but I actually did it. I also discovered the value of audiobooks because that allows you to leverage your time in the car rather than listening to the radio. I listened to audiobooks. A lot of the books I read during the pandemic were nonfiction. They were not literature, they were nonfiction, and they were very informative. So as an indirect result of the pandemic, I read a tremendous amount. Number 3, lifestyle change. In the United States, the major causes of death of adults: heart disease, cancer, stroke, accidents, infections, diabetes. Many of these health problems are deeply rooted in lifestyle choices that we make and that we follow during a lifetime. During my reading time during the pandemic, I discovered the website for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. It's still up, it's robust, it's very good, and they curate information about lifestyle choices. They talk about 6 pillars of lifestyle that have major implications in our health: our eating behavior, exercise, stress, sleeping behavior, social connectedness, and avoidance of toxicity: drugs, alcohol, tobacco. So those are the 6 pillars that they taught me about in their literature, and their literature is quite excellent. A lot of my reading, nonfiction, during the pandemic was on lifestyle choices, and that resulted in me embracing a whole food, plant-based eating plan. In other videos, I explain, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan. I just source my food whole food, plant-based, and that's based on the reading that I did during the pandemic. What else? Well, the next one is related to the second one. So when I was reading so much during the pandemic under the recommendations from Ben McAvoy, I started thinking about language. I had previously had difficulty understanding translations, specifically of Don Quixote and some of the Russian writers. That got me to thinking about language and translations and literature as a kind of a combined topic. And I thought, it would be great to speak more languages than just English. So, during the pandemic, in early 2023, to be more precise, I went online and I searched a word combination that I had heard before: comprehensible input. I put that into Google, and I got a bunch of results out from that. The result of that search allowed me to discover Dreaming Spanish. And that journey was amazing. I had heard the term comprehensible input and had a general idea of how it might work, but I needed specifics. That's why I put in the search. I had studied German in high school, but it was traditional learning methods, grammar, vocabulary, not much input, and so the results were not very good. I observed when I lived in Austria that I learned much more German by listening to the Austrians than I had in school. So this idea of comprehensible input sounded very good to me. I was ready for that information. The experience of using Dreaming Spanish and then podcasts for Comprehensible Input in Spanish was fabulous. In less than 2 years, I did 2,000 hours of Spanish. Entonces, yo hablo español. My study of Spanish has not stopped. Every day, minimum 1 hour, preferably 2 hours per day. This is the result of the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I learned to take discretionary time and convert it into reading time. And then later, I decided to convert my reading time into language acquisition time. Now that I'm at 2,000 hours plus in Spanish, I'm not stopping, because this is a race that has no finish line. I will always read in Spanish. I will always be looking for videos or podcasts in Spanish. It has become part of my life, and it's an indirect result of the pandemic. Number 5, getting organized. There's a very American mindset, do it all. And it sounds great, but it's completely impractical. You can't do it all. I like a quote. There's an American comedian named Stephen Wright who many years ago said, "You can't have everything. Where would you keep it?" That also works for you can't do everything. Where would you find the time to do everything? It's not possible. So, as an indirect result of the pandemic, I got better organized. I started setting priorities and making sure that the important things got done and the less important things were not put ahead of what needed to get done. This has been a very positive effect. You can't do everything. There is a book I read in Spanish called Atomic Habits. And it's a very good book. And it talks about how we can decide about the habits that we include in our life, and then the result of those choices of how we build our habits. It's a very good book. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. That is, I got the information from the book, Atomic Habits, but I also did it as comprehensible input. So 2 positive effects. So that is my list of 5 positive things that occurred because of the pandemic. I invite you to consider your own situation. Maybe you can come up with some very positive things that occurred because of the pandemic. I encourage you to put your remarks in the comments section. Of course, we encourage people to like and subscribe to the channel, and I invite you to come back and join us in a future video. See you soon.